Well, folks, hope everybody's doing okay. It's the day after the election, and I'm going to be very open with you guys, very candid with you guys. I'm in shock. I have refrained pretty much from saying anything up till now. It's 5:26 p.m. Florida time, and I just I have no words. This is a very I'm going to be very honest with you guys, and what I'm giving you guys is just my thoughts. I know many of you guys may not agree or whatever, but these are just my very honest thoughts. This is a very sad day for our country. Um, this was not my preferred result. This was not certainly not the result that I expected to happen. I did not ever say once that it was going to be a Harris landslide. I did believe it was going to be very close. However, I did believe that Harris would ultimately pull it off because there's more good in this country than bad. There's more compassion in this country than emboldenment, and just there's more good people than bad people. And there's more love in this country than hate. And I had really high hopes that Democratic voters, especially in the so-called blue wall states. I hate using that term because there are multiple blue walls in this country. There's not one special blue wall. There's multiple blue walls. That they were going to come home, and they were going to elect our first female president of color, especially in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania. I really did believe that, and I had I had no expectation that Michigan, Pennsylvania, or even Wisconsin or Minnesota or any of those were even going to go to Donald Trump. And I had high hopes that Georgia was going to go for Harris too. I was very skeptical about North Carolina. Like North Carolina didn't seem realistic, but I really did believe Nevada was going to go for Harris. And I did believe Harris was going to win a slight margin of victory of like 270 something to 200 to like Trump's 260 or 50 something. But eh, I was wrong. I was wrong. And this is a devastating day for our country because our country has indeed shown its true colors. Its true colors of wanting to kick migrants out. Its true colors of hate toward, you know, LGBT people and other minorities. Its true colors of this very dangerous image of masculinity. Um, I never once said ever that that masculinity is a bad thing, but this image that is being portrayed by the right, that people like Donald Trump, Jordan Peterson, Tucker Carlson, Andrew Tate, all of that stuff that's being fed into the minds of so many young people. And this was the biggest thing I had, was just my concern and just young people just becoming so angry and so emboldened and so hateful, especially young men. And, to the point where they're like, where we're literally moving backwards as a country on civil rights, LGBT rights, um, immigrants, progress on immigration issues, and just progress on just policies that would help so many million help and support and fight for so many millions of people. And last night, revenge won, the lust for revenge won, pride won, you know, Republican, American, national Trump pride won, emboldenment won, anger won, hate won, bigotry won, right wing conspiracies, insane right wing conspiracies won. Flat out demonizing your political opponents won. And I'm very sad about that because none of that is who I am. And none of that is who I will ever be and who I've ever been. Yesterday in Florida, I voted a very Republican ticket. Yeah, I did. I really did. Under the expectation that Harris would win. Under my belief that Harris would win, I voted for Kamala Harris, and I voted a very Republican ticket. Because I don't really trust, because I'm in the middle. I'm very much in the middle on a lot of things. I don't really trust the left on a lot of things. Um, but I do believe and stand by and continue to stand by that Kamala Harris was the right choice. In Florida, I voted for Rick Scott, Republican senator from Florida. I voted, because I believe in keeping Florida a pro-life state, and I know that's something that I have a strong disagreement with Kamala Harris about. I voted to protect the 6-week abortion ban, and against Amendment 4, which I'm thankful passed. Amendment 4 failed, and I was proud of Florida yesterday for a period of time. I was proud of Florida that Amendment 4 failed, and that the 6-week abortion ban will remain in Florida, and that Florida will remain a pro-life state. I voted to protect. I voted to keep every conservative state justice in the Supreme Court of Florida. I voted Republican for many local races, and with like one or two exceptions, I voted Democrat for a House race, and I voted Democrat for an elections for board of elections, because I do believe that Democrats do better with elections than Republicans do. But besides that, I voted a mostly red Republican ticket. I voted against the proposition to legalize marijuana. Let me rephrase that. Legalize recreational marijuana. I'm not against medical marijuana at all, at all. I'm very supportive of medical marijuana to help people, but I also do believe that medical marijuana that marijuana is a gateway drug. I strongly believe that. I know that my cousin started using marijuana at a very young age, and he eventually got addicted to other drugs, and today he's dead. And I do believe, and I am well convinced that has happened to so many people in this country, in states where just marijuana has gone crazy, like including Michigan and Colorado and all those places. Um, and a lot of people just smoke and drive and get into accidents, and it's bad. And people are on the streets trying to get marijuana and all that, and it's really really bad. So I was very much against that, and I voted against the recreational marijuana amendment, while at the same time realizing that medical marijuana is still protected in Florida. And I also have an experience where I did it once, and I remember passing out for 10 hours in a dreamless sleep, feeling just completely out of it, and having hallucinations and everything, and it was very scary. So I voted a very conservative ticket, with the exception of a House race, the Elections Board, and Kamala Harris. Besides that, most of my ticket was very red. And I'm happy that Florida did reject the recreational marijuana and the abortion amendment. But at the same time, I'm very sad at our nation as a whole for once again rejecting a very highly qualified, in my belief, woman president of color. And it really shows that, and I hate to use this term, the patriarchy, that the idea that men think they have to have power and men have to have control over everything. And I strongly disagree with that. I do believe, and my view on the patriarchy is I believe that, men and women should share power equally. And that it, doesn't matter your gender role. Men should not have like dominance, but it's, the whole point is that we did reject, yet again, another female leader to a guy who has treated women horribly his whole life. For the second time. And the first time I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. This time I voted for Kamala Harris, but the first time I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. And I do believe she would have made a great leader, and she would have moved our country forward in a very positive and optimistic direction, in a very she would have moved our country forward in the direction of compassion, honesty, and just in a good way, fighting for people, fighting for people's rights, fighting for housing, fighting for, you know, things that people need, programs people need, all of that stuff, and her promise to build 1 million houses by the end of her administration, and fighting to take on investors because she was a prosecutor at one point, taking on investors, and lowering the cost of housing. She had a plan for all of that, and I really believed in her. I really did, and she ran a very, very good campaign overall with some mistakes. She made some mistakes, but I have to give her credit. She packed the rallies. She ran a very good campaign. She was out there doing interviews, packing rallies, rallying in like state after state after state after state. And she worked very, very, very hard. And compare that to 2016, Hillary Clinton. She just thought she had it in the bag. And no, Kamala Harris knew she didn't have it in the bag. She fought for this, and she earned my vote, and she earned the vote of so many Americans, and she would have taken our country down a better direction. Whereas now our country is going down a much more hateful, bigoted, and emboldened direction. And like I said, revenge won, anger won, hate won, bigotry won, pride won. The worst of the worst won. And American voters let us down. They really let us down. And they showed themselves to the whole world about who we really are as a nation. And so to conclude this talk, guys, I want to just say that, we have to accept the reality. And the reality is that Donald Trump will be our next president. And it's by no means, this was not my preferred reality, but here we are. Here we are. And Republicans controlled the Senate. I voted for that. Now, I voted for that thinking Kamala Harris would win. But I still voted for that regardless. I think Republicans will control the House. I did vote Democrat for House. But anyway, putting aside voting, whatever. So we have to accept the reality that Trump will be the next president. And to conclude this talk officially, I know I've gone on a little rant, but to conclude this talk, I really do believe that we have to show our kindness to one another and our love to one another. To women who are scared, to marginalized communities who are scared, to people in the LGBT community who are scared, to people who depend on, programs who are scared, to migrants who are scared of being deported, all that stuff. We have to show kindness. We have to show love, and we have to show that we're standing with these people that are now in danger because of this administration that's coming in. That we're standing with them. That we're standing with our LGBT friends and neighbors. That we're standing with migrants and the immigrants in this country, especially the Haitian immigrants that were so demonized. That we're standing with, women of color, people of color, black women, everybody, women in general. And I don't know what God's teaching us through this. This is definitely, I just don't see any way. One of the saddest things about this is that millions and millions of Trump supporters are proclaiming this as God's victory and God's plan. And it's another thing I voted against. I voted against the manipulation of the pro-life and Christian vote, of both of which I am. But I voted against the manipulation by the right wing of the pro-life and Christian vote. And if you voted for Kamala Harris, and if you're a Christian or pro-life, God bless you. And I stand by it. In Jesus Christ's name. And what's coming in this administration is not Christian. By any means. It's anti-Christ. It is anti-everything Christ taught and stood for and fought for. Everything, forget fought for. Everything Christ taught and stood for. This is not Christian by any means. It's not a Christian administration. It has no reflection on Christ at all. It is a manipulation and a lie and a facade of Christianity that I will never ever, that I do not believe was God's will for this country, unless it was to punish us for something. And yeah, so be good to one another, help one another, stand with your marginalized friends and neighbors, and we will get through this. We have to get through this, and we just have to show that we believe in these values that we voted for. If you voted for Harris, we are on the right side of history. If we voted, we are on the right side of history. And that we need to show that we believe in these values, that we stand for compassion, dignity, honesty, standing up for people, fighting for the oppressed, standing up for immigrants, standing up for people of color, the LGBT community, for women, for workers' rights, for people that are just struggling and that depend on social programs and everything. And that we reject everything that Donald Trump, pushed on us. A man of revenge, a man of emboldenment, a man of anger, this, which has just spread to his whole base, especially young people. We need to show that we reject that we reject the lies and the propaganda that was spread by social media, all over social media, because of all the lies out there and the misinformation and all that. We reject that. That paints Trump out as this martyr, this God, this savior for America against the evil Democrats. That we reject what was shown at that rally the other day, that horrifying rally where a guy called all Democrats, quote, all Democrats, a bunch of degenerates, every last one of them, where a guy called Puerto Rico, a floating island of garbage, where a guy called Kamala Harris the Antichrist and the devil in disguise. That we reject the likes of Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk and and the rhetoric that was spread by a once good man, RFK Jr., that has just sold his soul out. That we reject all of that. A man, RFK Jr., let's talk about him for a second. A man that I highly respect. I believe in the things he teaches. I strongly support the things he teaches about health and about, because I've always been a health guy, always. And I agree with him on so much of that. But I partly blame Kamala Harris for not inviting him into her administration, because he appealed to her first about the endorsement, which she should not have rejected, in my opinion. I think that he would have been a good addition to Kamala Harris's team. And it was sad that she rejected that, and I do not agree with her on that. But he just went over to Donald Trump and has completely sold his soul, and Elon Musk too, and all that stuff, and Tucker Carlson, and all these Dan Bongino, these right-wing outlets that have just told so many lies, and just that we need to show that we reject that and that we stand with one another. And it is a sad day for our country, but we have to move forward and really just get through this. And I love every one of you. I stand by everything I said today, whether it leaned right or whether it leaned left. I stand by everything I said today. I'm still independent, still a registered Republican in the state of Florida. And I stand by everything I said.